Hello students, sorry for the little bit of delay. We had some technical issue. Now it has been sorted. Just hold for a second. Okay. So you must have gone through the three first classes of your sociology enrichment program, which were related to sociology, the discipline, sociology as science, and research methods and analysis. Okay. So these three chapters we have already completed. So the today's agenda of my lecture will be that we are going to focus upon the recurrent issues which I am listening from you guys in offline sessions as well as in online sessions, that how and what type of approach we are going to have for answer writing, how to evaluate ourselves with toppers answers copies, okay, how we have to deal with notes or note making, which is specially being seen as a challenge in almost each and every one of you. Then, so I'm going to highlight these particular three important issues, and after that we will do little bit of answer writing exercise, and then we will be focusing upon having a little bit of snippets around sociological thinkers, which is again our main domain of next two chapters of your revision class. Then, so the first issue is related to your answer writing skill, that how we have to develop our answer writing skills, what to look for. So the basic thing, as I am telling you guys again and again, that for answer writing, we have to focus on few things. First and foremost condition is that anyhow we are not going to let go, we are not going to leave the core demand of the question. We are not going to leave the core demand of question. Okay, that if the question is around how or what are the changes which were highlighted by the Enlightenment period which led to the birth of sociology, now here we have to focus on changes as well as factors of Enlightenment period. But if it has been questioning up around that Enlightenment was not the only thing which has led to the birth of sociology, then we have to focus on the broader aspects of related to the emergence of sociology, not only. So don't try to dive yourself into finalizing introductions, finalizing conclusions, or finalizing content related to only two key. Okay. The first is adhering to the core demand of this particular question. Now, what kind of exercise do you need to do to adhere to this core demand? First thing that you have to focus on what are the important keywords have been highlighted in the question. If there are two keywords or three keywords, we have to focus on all the three keywords, not only one keyword. Okay. Second is about finding relationship between these, that if an examiner has given us two or three keywords in a question, that doesn't mean that we will be writing answers on single keywords individually. We have to combine them and then make a particular thought related to answer writing of ours related to that particular question. Okay. If the question is asking us about poverty and exclusion, that how they are impacting each other, which is demand of your paper 1. And if the examiner is asking us about poverty and inequality, how they are impacting each other, affecting each other. So we have to focus on how they both are related to each other. We cannot individually write about poverty and individually about exclusion, or individually about poverty and individually about inequality. We have to focus on the key demand, that yes, we have to make relationship between these two particular keywords and then frame our question. Okay. Now, again, for this key demand, the important aspect which I always highlight with you guys is that don't jump into writing your answers. First, take a little bit of pause. If you are just starting to write answers, at least spend 2 minutes in understanding the key demands, finding out the keywords, finding out the key connections, and then start your writing. Okay, if you have already done a little bit of exercise related to this, then for 2026, the students who are writing this mains in 2026, you can still use your 30 seconds in understanding the keywords and the relationship between these two keywords. So if you are not adhering to this particular core demand of the question, whatever you write, whatever the thinkers you are going to put in your answer sheet, that is not going to give you marks. Okay. Then the second issue is related to thinkers. Now, please let go this misconception that if you are writing 10 thinkers, you are getting good marks. Thinkers are only relevant if they are going to highlight this core demand. If you are writing thinkers without giving focus or without giving due diligence to your core demand, that is not going to solve your problems related. Okay, most of the topper sheets which I will be highlighting in today's lecture also, which I am already been highlighting in our revision classes, you must be seeing that only 1 or 2 thinkers are enough, which the toppers have written in the answer sheets, and they are getting very good marks. Most of the thinkers have scored more than 300 marks. So the same approach we are going to have, or we need to have for our आंसर राइटिंग. थिंकर्स उतने ही रेलेवेंट हैं जितना हमारा कंटेंट, जब तक वो हमारे कंटेंट को रेलेवेंट बना रहे हैं. इफ दे आर नॉट मेकिंग आवर कंटेंट स्मूथ इनफ, इंपॉर्टेंट इनफ और रेलेवेंट इनफ, दैट मीन्स वी आर just fixing it unnecessarily in our answers. So the main actor, the real demand of question is the core demand, adhering to the core demand, and these are the supporters just to adhere that core demand, nothing else. Okay. So give less emphasis on this particular part, major on this part. Then third point is related to examples, which I highlight in my classes also, that we have to focus on contemporary aspect of every question or every demand which has been asked in the question, without giving due importance to the earlier examples which are highlighted by the thinkers themselves. For example, whenever we ask a question related to manifest related functions, people just randomly write about whatever the examples given by Archimedes related to the Houthi tribes and their celebration of rain. Now we are living in this 21st or 22nd century. We are in 2026. We need to highlight that yes, this is the basic meaning of latent and manifest function, but at least you can write examples from the modern times. UPSC has itself asked question related to that. How is fashion? What is the latent and manifest function of fashion? Why can't we utilize those kinds of approach in our answer writing skills while giving exam? Okay. Then the last, your dimensions. Okay. So this dimensions is last, but it is covering all three which we have written above. Is covering all three which we have written above. Now, what do we mean by these dimensions? So these dimensions is nothing but your sociological understanding with respect to core demand of the question. Okay. So we focus for dimensions, we focus mainly on what is asked. When I talk about what, for example, if a question is related to mode of productions, so the first thing which we need to write about is in introduction about the basic definition of mode of production. Okay. The second thing which we need to focus upon is that why this particular thing has been asked in the question and how it can be written. For example, maintaining the flow of the answer. So for that maintenance of flow, one thing which I am telling you guys from the first day itself, that focus on features or characteristics of any concept in the question. If you are focusing on this particular aspect and you know that how you are going to relate that with the core demand of the question, your answer is automatically written, your answer is automatically solved. Okay, then comes your conclusion. For conclusion, I tend to highlight that you should be focusing on the contemporary relevance of that particular, concept which has been. So not focusing too much on the thinker wala perspective, we focus on core demand examples, which is nothing but your dimension. How we are going to generate the sociological dimension, that is a task we are already doing in the revision classes, how we are utilizing the syllabus of paper 1 itself to generate a sociological dimension. When the time will come, I will highlight that part also. Then what was the next question, that how we are going to evaluate the topper answer copies. So for evaluation of topper answer copies, do one thing, avoid reading the model answers of toppers or anyone else. First focus on the question, that whatever the question the topper has written, and try to write the same answer by yourself without looking at the model answer. When you will do this particular exercise, then tend to compare both these answers. Now, what is the benefit of this comparison? That if your points are matching with the topper's approach, that means you are writing well. But if there are some issues, you are lagging behind in your approach, you are lagging behind in content, you are lagging behind in structure related to the topper's approach, you can improve on that particular. Nobody can write 100% perfect answer, but we can vouch for the perfection. As Weber says, that sociology cannot be 100% objective, but we can vouch for value neutrality. And for vouching for that value neutrality, this topper answer sheets is the gold mine which we need to focus on. Okay. Similarly, avoid looking at the model answers of PYQs. Before looking at that PYQs, just focus on that how you are going to write those questions, answers of those particular questions, then compare with the model answers. Because you guys start comparing at the initial stages itself, which creates lot of tussle, lot of problems while understanding the key demand or bringing innovation in your answer style. Okay, so don't compartmentalize your thought related to the topper's approach or related to the PYQ model answers. Try to find your own way, try to have your own subjective understanding related to the demand of question, and then frame answers by your own. In the end, compare it with the model answers, whether it is for PYQs or for your proper answer. Okay. Now, thought, notes or note making. So one thing which I'm frequently telling you guys, that if you are reading sociology for the first time reading, don't dive into note making. Don't jump. There has to be stages. The first stage of reading is just to understand what has been happening and what is not happening. The second stage of reading is just to start getting a conceptual clarity related to what you are going to read. Okay. Then your revision stages starts. So when you are done with this two stages of reading, then jump into your making of notes. पहली बार में ही पढ़ने में आप नोट्स बनाना शुरू कर दे रहे हो, which is going to make no sense unless until you are revising that again and again. If you have read one particular chapter, read that chapter twice, then the third time start making notes. Then what you need to focus while making notes? So while making notes, you have to focus upon two important things which I am highlighting again and again. First is your sociology syllabus, and second is PYQ. Syllabus to be within limits, इससे बाहर हमें जाना ही नहीं है, and PYQs to understand about the core areas which we need to focus more upon. Okay, if you're adhering to this PYQs only, you will be yourself making lot of examples with respect to different commands with which UPSC has been asking previously questions related to sociology. Done? Then now let's do some little bit of exercise now related to our first 3 lectures. So the first question is about emergence of sociology was not a mere coincidence comment. Emergence of sociology was not a mere coincidence comment. So now I am setting a timer for 2 minutes. Just try to understand what they have been asking. Just try to find out the core demand of this question, then we will start writing answer in the class and we will try to compare it with proper answer sheet. So now, first we will try to find out the key words or key theme which the question has been asking us about. So what is the first keyword? Emergence of sociology. Okay, so the question is emergence of sociology was not a mere coincidence comment, a 10 marker. So the first keyword is emergence of sociology. The second keyword is coincidence or mere coincidence. That the sociology which we are talking about has taken birth. It was not a coincidence. That means we have to make a relationship between these two keywords. Okay. Now, what kind of introduction you can write in this particular? Anyone? What kind of introduction we can write in this particular answer? So our answer will be related to emergence of, our introduction will be emergence of sociology. That sociology emerged in the 19th century because of the social changes which we were seeing which we have seen after the Enlightenment period in, okay, so the sociology born in 19th century Europe due to the impacts of Enlightenment period, Enlightenment and modernity, which brought social changes in, so that will be our introduction. Okay, now to highlight that yes, sociology is not born of this mere coincidence, we have to highlight some facts related to this emergence now. Okay, we have to highlight some facts related to this emergence. Now, what are those facts related to this emergence? That this period saw various changes brought by, these changes were brought by first Enlightenment period. Enlightenment period brought rationality and humanism in the society, where it started to question religion and finding reasons for every problem existing in society. Okay, then we will jump into writing the second part, which is about, after Enlightenment we can write about scientific revolution. I'm not going to write about the whole answer, so I will write down the points now. Scientific revolution as highlighted by Darwin, which later used by Herbert Spencer, then which started to question logic, everything on the basis of logic. Then we can write about the commercial revolution, that how now the economy started to play its role and the role of church started to decrease. Then industrial revolution which led to the change of family system, which led to the rise of factory system, which led to the degradation of human beings, human values, etc. Okay, but don't forget to write about counter enlightenment, which is also an important part of our factors which led to the rise of sociology or emergence of. Okay, so we will write down these 5 factors. Now, what was the demand? That emergence of sociology was not a mere coincidence. Now, how we are going to end it? That these changes which the society was seeing, the political changes, economic changes, social changes, were not being able to solve by the traditional structures, were not being able to solve by the traditional structure. Okay, hence sociology emerged to understand these changes, and hence this was not a mere coincidence. This has to be our approach. Now, what we had focused upon in this particular answer, हमने पूरे आंसर में सिर्फ एक बार डार्विन की बात की है, and we have connected it with Herbert Spencer. Apart from it, we have never talked about any thinker in this particular part in our answer. Okay, so our answer should hit the core demand of the question rather than focusing about unnecessarily fitting thinkers. Getting my point? Now, let's look at what I was trying to highlight. This is a topper answer sheet. She has scored more than 300 marks in sociology last to last year. So the question was the same question, emergent sociology was not a mere coincidence, comment. Now look at the simplicity with which they have been writing their answer. So the introduction, sociology was born in the 19th century as a result of modernity and social changes brought by French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, etc. Okay. The changes began since the 14th century Renaissance period, you can write about here, and continued through time. What were the changes? Commercial revolution. Monarchy strengthened and church rule declined. Economy shifted from stagnant to dynamic system with the discovery of sea route. Scientific revolution. Copernican theory and Darwin's theory of evolution shattered the very foundation of old order and allowed the comparison of society with human organism by Spencer. It questioned the role of religion and emphasized on reason. French Revolution questioned the divine rights of kings and brought a change in the political system, which changed from subject to citizens. Then Industrial Revolution brought economic changes with factory system that has led to the rise of middle class, urbanism, and arrival of the capitalist system. Then Enlightenment, intellectuals development focused on the use of rationality and reason, questioning the old social order. Irving Zetlin, early sociology developed as a reaction of Enlightenment. So this particular statement, if you are going through the revision classes, you must have seen that how I have highlighted that you can utilize this particular statement whenever a question is around Enlightenment. Okay, you can start this as an introduction in your answers related to Enlightenment. Then she has made one chart where in this particular 5 points she hasn't been written about any counter Enlightenment, but here she has talked about anti-enlightenment or counter enlightenment because it was needed to have a balance in the society. Okay, then these social, economic, and political intellectual changes led to the new social problems which could not be solved by the traditional religious knowledge or traditional knowledge. Thus, sociology emerged as a new scientific discipline to understand the nature of society, as its emergence was not a mere coincidence. So, in our answer, what are the important things we have to focus upon? The simplicity with which you write answer, hitting the core demand without diving too much into the thinkers. If examples can be quoted, you can use the examples. Okay. Then, now next another exercise. Discuss the methodological debate between positivism and interpretivism in sociology. In sociology. Okay. So I'm taking a 30-second pause, then I will start answer for this particular question. Then, chalo, let's find out the keywords related to this particular question first. The first keyword is your methodological debate. Methodological debate between positivism and interpretivism in sociology. That means that what is the conflict or debate has been going on between the positivism and interpretivism related to what kind of methods they are going to use to understand sociology or to understand. Okay. So for this methodological debate, हमें क्या पता होना चाहिए? Again, that we have to focus first on the definition wala part, a simple definition wala part, and then characteristics or feature wala part. Now, what is the definition of positivism? What is the definition of positivism? So positivism generally believes in utilizing the empirical methods to understand the society. Utilizing the empirical methods, using the data to understand the society. Whereas interpretivism focus on subjective meanings related to the social action. Okay, so this is what we can use for the introduction itself. That positivism believes in the using the empirical methods to understand the society, whereas interpretivism believes in the using of subjective meanings to understand the social actions. Okay, then there is a methodological debate related to the use of positivism and interpretism to understand the society, because both have different views related to larger understanding of society. Okay, what does positivism believes in? So they look for that it has to be objective. It needed to be quantifiable. Okay, why? Because they are looking at the larger goal of generalization, as they belong to the macro school of thought. जो आपने first, if you are following the revision classes, first two revision classes में we have deliberately talked about macro and micro school of thought. So as they are following the macro school of thought, they are following the generalization tendency. Their focus is on social structure. Okay, whereas for interpretivism, that we cannot be value free, so there has to be some bias. Okay, but they can vouch for value neutrality as highlighted by Max Weber. Okay, getting my point? So we can compare it with the characteristics itself related to interpretivism and positivism, and hence our answer can be solved in this particular question. Very well on, boss. Positivism refers to the application of empiricism logic in the study of society. Now, for this question, I have used two different answers of two different topics for the same question, that how they have been writing answers to. So look at the first answer sheet, this, that positivism believes in developing empirical methods to study society, while interpretism methodology focus on understanding the meanings attached to a social actor. Okay, so they are focusing on subjective meanings, they are focusing on empirical methods. Now look at the introduction written by the second topic. While positivism sought to study society as a science of social facts and draw generalization, interpretism sees the study of sociology as the study of social action. Okay, now here this particular part is not clear, that interpretivism sees the study of sociology as a study of social action. If that could have been the case, that means this is nothing but adapting to the positivism approach itself. So that introduction itself is little bit weak when we are talking about the interpretivism thought, because it is finding the meaning, subjective meaning of that social action, not just social action. So here this meaning word makes all the difference. Okay, now look at the next part, that what is the methodological debate. So in this particular sheet, this side of the screen, the right side of the screen, you must be seeing that he has highlighted sheet in the form of thinker's perspective. Okay, that positivism believes in developing sociology as a scientific study based on experimentation and observation, while interpretism refers to the study of subjectivity involved in social action. Okay, another important thing which you need to take care of while you are doing the answer writing, then don't just name drop a sentence or a thinker. Give a full or write a full sentence which should make a sense grammatically, and it should be, easily understandable by the examiner. Okay, then next point, thinkers such as Auguste Comte in theory of social change mentions positivism as a stage in social evolution, theological and metaphysical positivism. Now this part was not necessary to be written in this particular question, because it is not highlighting the core demand of the question. This can be utilized as an example of the earlier point, not as a separate point. Thinker Max Weber is credited with the role of rise of interpretism school. He calls for maintaining objectivity while studying society through this concept of Western and ideals. Again, a stretch point which was not needed. Okay. Third point, positivism focus on the quantitative analysis of society, where the data is collected primarily through survey, census and interviewing. Very well. Whereas qualitative analysis using participatory observation and ethnography suggested by the interpretivist. Very well. Methodological connotation we have highlighted here. Then positivism of Emil Durkheim focuses on studying social fact as the subject matter, while interpretivist gave push to several other methods like phenomenology. Thus, both positivism and again, this is not to be a next point. This can be an elaboration of the earlier points. So there are two points which we have seen. In the first, he has highlighted the focus on subjectivity as well as in experimentation. And the next, he has highlighted the tools with which the methods can be differentiated. Okay, now look at this side of answer. So what are the methodological debate between the two? So this sheet, the top in this sheet particular slide, the topper has been highlighting the differences in the form of subheadings. So the first difference he has been highlighting is that there is a difference between agencies versus non-agency. That the interpretivism treats individual as a conscious beings who undertake social action, whereas positivism assumes external forces and see them as an atoms. That means human beings are considered as an active agency in the interpretivist school and not in the positivism school. Okay. Then second, social structure versus social interaction. That the larger focus of interpretivist school is on social interaction, whereas for positivism, social structure matters. Okay. Then study content specific versus generalization. So as the positivism school focuses on generalization, whereas interpretive school, which is nothing but a bridge between macro and micro, they focus on understanding the subjective content. That what is the point of that particular emotions or motives or goals which we need to take care of while understanding the society. Interpretivist study in a contents action taken by a person in a time or space. Positivist study institutions across time and space. Example, Durkheim and his persistence on religion. Value neutrality and value free. I don't need to elaborate this because we have already elaborated it in the class in detail. Okay. Then methodological polarity adds vitality to a subject and gives both a telescope and a microscope to study society, positivism and interpretivism respectively. Okay. So they have not ended with that. This is nothing but कि interpretism अच्छा है या positivism अच्छा है. They have tried to highlight that this is nothing but giving us methodological plurality where we can understand the society in different domains. Okay. Similarly, he has also given this particular point that thus both positivism and interpretivism focus on studying society but with different viewpoints. Okay. So what they have done in this particular sheet, the left side, we have been seeing that he has been highlighting the examples as extra points, which is not right, which is not relevant. But here the introduction was not apt, but the points that student has written, they are very apt related to the demand of the question. Whereas there was a lack of examples, but at least it is adhering to the core demand of the. Okay. The next question. Describe sociological imagination. So I have kept two questions related to sociological imagination because it is solving another part also which is related to the common sense. So we will be doing exercise related to these for two questions. The first is describe sociological imagination. How does it challenge the commonsensical ways of looking at the world around us? Again, I am taking 30-second pause so that you will be making keywords and trying to understand that what kind of relation we have to make for Chalo, let's highlight the keywords. What are the important keywords? First is sociological imagination. First keyword. Okay. Then how does it challenge the commonsensical ways? Second keyword is challenge. What they are challenging? Commonsensical ways. The third keyword. For what? To look at the world around us. So the fourth. Okay. So first we have to focus on sociological imagination. Second, we have to find out a relationship between sociological imagination and common sense, that how the sociological imagination is different from common sense when we try to look at things around us. Okay, so what will be our approach? What can we do for introduction? We have to do nothing, just to focus upon sociological imagination. Who has coined this particular term? See, right? So just write down the definition. If you don't remember the name, just write down the definition of sociological imagination. What is the definition of sociological imagination? What is the definition of sociological imagination? Anyone? So sociological imagination is nothing but looking beyond the personal troubles and see that how the larger society sees that as a public issue. Personal trouble, public issue, that are the two important words which are utilized by the Dhiraj Mills when he was talking about sociological imagination. Okay, that we have to look beyond our personal troubles and see the larger social institution or social structure whenever we are trying to understand the then how it challenges the commonsensical ways. What we can think about it whenever we are talking about how it can challenge the commonsensical ways. It can lead to the asking of that why this particular commonsensical norm, commonsensical belief is existing in the society. Okay, that why we have to take 7 fairas only during the marriage function. How the why the bride has to go to the groom house? Why can't groom come back to the live with the wife's family? So it is nothing but asking for what? That why this particular thing has been continuing. So it can question the continuity of social belief. It can try to dig out the truth behind the any commonsensical belief or tradition which has been continuing in the society. So it can lead to the finding of hidden truths. It is nothing but reflexive, finding out, the understanding or continuation of any commonsensical belief or tradition in a scientific way. Okay. So if you are writing these 3 points only and highlighting that with examples, our 150 words are completed. Then, so look at this sheet now. Describe sociological imagination. How does it challenge the commonsensical ways of looking at the world around us? So first, using C. Wright Mills, the topper has highlighted the definition only of sociological imagination. That sociological imagination is a concept given by C. Wright Mills which refers to the ability of social researchers to look beyond the personal troubles to identify structural issues in the society, or to connect personal troubles with public. Okay, that she has highlighted that particular extent so that this particular part is also getting due respect. It enables us to look at the historical facts and how they affect biography of people. Again, the words utilized by C. Mills in his work related to sociological imagination. Okay. Example. Suicide rates increasing is a public issue not caused by depression or anxiety as common sense dictates. Rather than it is a result of declining social integration and moral regulation. So this is a very right way to write an example because the example itself justifies what is sociological imagination and what is common sense related to the issue of suicide. अगर जरूरत होती तो she could have utilized the name of Emil Durkheim also in this particular example, but उन्होंने use नहीं किया because that doesn't make any sense to use that particular part because this sentence is itself complete related to differentiating between sociological imagination and common sense without using the name of thinker. That is the reason I'm always telling you that don't focus on thinkers too much, just focus on the thought which can be utilized here. Okay. Then challenging common sense, a very apt heading made that how the sociological imagination is going to challenge the common sense. So for this, the first thing, introduction of common sense, that what is the meaning of common sense? Common sense refers to the native wisdom or routine day-to-day knowledge that helps to navigate our everyday life and look for the social reality which we have around. Okay. Sociological imagination challenges common sense in following ways. What are those ways? Reflexive. It is reflexive and asks why social phenomena occurs. It questions patriarchal marriage and questions why females go to groom's house. Then second, it helps several hidden social dogma beyond commonsensical understanding. It helps to reveal the hidden social dynamics or dogmas beyond the commonsensical understanding. Okay, that arranged marriage might seem common sense, but sociological imagination reveals that the real purpose is to maintain patriarchy and endogamy. Okay, then conclusion, again a simple one-line conclusion. Thus, sociological imagination provides in-depth view, unlike common sense, which focus on superficial. Okay, so rather than focusing on, we will be writing 10 points, 8 points, which is your demand of GS. Just focus on adhering to the core, relation of question, that what is the core demand, how we are going to adhere it. One another important thing which you can highlight in this particular answer sheet is that this example of suicide, basically of Emil Durkheim or Durkheim, whatever you call, this particular topper has tried to utilize a thought of one sociological thinker with another sociological thinker. So this is what we have to understand. So when I talk about that, how you are going to integrate your inter-paper syllabus, okay, intra-paper syllabus, this is what I was talking about in every class of ours. That we have to think that where this particular thought can be utilized. For example, when we are talking about historical materialism, connected with the dependency theory of chapter 10, your social change in modern society. Okay. So here, the topper itself has connected that C. Mills can be utilized in understanding the suicide theory of Emil Durkheim. It will give obviously good marks to you because you are writing an example, even though it is a theoretical one. Then, so the next question, again on sociological imagination. So this is nothing but the definition itself, that sociological imagination links personal troubles with public issues, elucidate with examples. Again, I am taking a 30-second pause so that you can find the keywords. Okay. Now this is nothing but highlighting that how a sociological imagination Your first keyword is linking personal troubles or personal issues with public issues. Second, third, and fourth, you have to highlight this with example. Okay, so in introduction, we will be writing the meaning or definition of sociological imagination itself using the name of C-Write myths. Then how we are going to write about it is linking personal troubles with social issues or public issues. Take for example, a Dalit. Okay, a Dalit researcher. He wants to highlight, he is facing discrimination from his early ages itself. Now he is trying to do a sociological research related to the discrimination on Dalits. So he has highlighted his personal trouble and linking it with the public issues. Public issues is the discrimination of Dalits at large on the country level. Okay, similarly a woman who has been facing patriarchal, discrimination or patriarchal subjugation all her life. Now she wants to highlight that how the issue which I have been facing can be researched in such a way that it can be led to a generalization of a problems of women related to patriarchy at all over the time. Okay, this is what the question has been demanding in this particular thing. Now let us again see two different topics writing the same answer. For first, in introduction, the same approach they have used. Here the person has not used the name of C-Write myths, but here the person has used the name of C-Write myths. Now the approach is different for the body, that how it is linking public personal trouble with public issues. In this particular side, the topper has been utilizing with examples. Okay, for example, poverty seen as a moral failing personally, but sociology or sociological imagination view it as arising out of social structure. Okay, like how we can write about or give an example where we can highlight Amartya Sen. That how Amartya Sen says that poverty is not of an individual failing but lack of capability, which is duty of government. Okay, then unemployment could be seen as arising out of laziness, low skill, aptitude, whereas sociological imagination see it as a pattern of unemployment with advent of AI or artificial intelligence. Here you can quote example, any example which is coming to your mind. That even though how much skills you have gained today, the rise of Gen AI, artificial intelligence, etc. has been leading to mass layoffs, not at a lower level, but at the highly skilled workforce also. Okay. Then suicide may be studied as a psychological phenomena, but sociological imagination, as we have seen in Emil Durkheim's study of suicide, that it is not a psychological or individual phenomena, but it is related to a sociological or reality. Okay, social fact. Now, there are 4 different types of suicides which has been highlighted by Emil Durkheim. Just try to highlight in which category you are going to include the suicides among students in quota. Okay, we will discuss it. I have discussed this in class also. I will discuss today also, but in the later session. Till then, try to give a thought about it, that in which category you are going to fit suicides in quota. Okay, then rise of religiosity, increased divorces, increased consumerism. Done. So this particular side used examples. Now look at this side. In this side, it has been highlighted that how a researcher is using his own condition in understanding public issues. Sociological imagination can lead to the choice of researcher based on own experience. Okay, where he can make ideal types of it. Second, Andre Bete is often criticized as being from upper caste community. He could have ignored the prejudices faced by the Adi Dravidas of Siripuram as normal. Okay. Third point, the choice of sociological research is also affected through common sense, which in fact developed through personal troubles of researchers. Fourth, this can lead to generalization of microview as the social reality on a large society. Louis Dumont's example he has given, then Ambedkar example he has given. Again, the question here for this particular topper is becoming a monotonous, as we have seen in the earlier section of this his answer sheet, that how he is trying to write one point and giving a point connotation to an example, which is not going to make any sense for the examiner. But here it is crisp and clear with examples itself that how it is leading to a differentiation between personal issues and public troubles. Okay, so the different ways of writing a same answer. Here he has gone with the name of researchers, with the kind of choice of research technique they have been using, and here simply without any researcher, without any sociological thinker's name, writing the same answer in different words. Both toppers have scored around 300 marks. One has scored more than 300 marks and one has scored 298 or 299 marks. Okay, so this all depends on how much you are going to practice about understanding the concept. If you are understanding in a theoretical perspective, you can write these answers, but if you are going to understand in a practical perspective, you can write this answer. Another very simple question, the last exercise of this. How does hypothesis help in sociological research? Write with suitable examples. Again, a 30-second pause. What is hypothesis? So let's find out the keywords here. One is hypothesis, help in sociological research. Second is sociological research, write with suitable examples. So third will be your examples. So here we have to highlight that how hypothesis is leading to sociological research or helping sociological research. Again, for introduction, what we will be using? A simple definition of hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis is nothing but a tentative statement which you write in your answers. That hypothesis is nothing but a tentative testable statement for a phenomena which is in scientific question or which is in question. Okay, then we will be writing about the points related to hypothesis, that it gives us a initiation to our sociological research. Okay, it helps us to find out different variables which we can use in sociological research. It helps us to find out the connections between different variables which we can use in our sociological. Then we will be adding examples to the different. Then now look at the answer sheet of this particular topper, that hypothesis refer to basic research question which forms starting point of research. Okay, you can also write about the tentative statement here. This is what hypothesis is. For example, adding fertilizer to plant helps it to grow. So this is a hypothesis. If it is going to be tested, then it will become a theory. It is put to test by sociological researcher, and it may be possible that researcher discards his or her starting hypothesis. How hypothesis helps in sociological research? It helps in initiating sociological research. For example, Max Weber wanted to study bureaucracy and its role in modern societies. Okay. Then second, it helps in defining variables of interest. Weber defined bureaucracy as a rational, legal, formal organization of, aim to achieve common goals in effective manner. Third, it helps establishing relationship between dependent and independent variables. Fourth, it helps in empirical testing and quantification of social phenomena. Fifth, it helps to observe any deviations in findings of research question. For example, again, Weber arrived at limited generalization that bureaucracy leads to increasing rationalization. But we also see innovators and disruptors like startups not following ordinary pattern of bureaucracy. So trying to find out a pattern in this answer. A question started with just focusing on bureaucratic approach of Weber and giving examples related only to bureaucracy in each sentence. That how he has made an ideal type of bureaucracy till the end, and in the end the topper has concluded with this remark itself. Okay. So these were the some exercises which I need to do with you guys, because these are related to the latest topper sheets. Earlier topper sheets you also see in the classes itself. Now let's move forward to our thinkers wala part. So we have 6 important thinkers which we need to talk about in our classes. In the revision classes have been divided into 2 different sections. In the one section we are talking about Marx, Durkheim and Weber. In the next sections we are talking about Tancred Parsons, Robert King Merton and George Herbert Mead. Okay, here we are going to just have a little bit of snippets related to this thinkers approach and try to understand with the current affair emphasis related to the rise of different examples which we have been seeing in society. Now, as you guys must have been seeing related to the revision classes, that how is Karl Marx, Durkheim and Parsons, they are majorly view Karl Marx views related to conflict theory, but he is not a functionist. But both these Emil Durkheim and Tancred Parsons, they are not for he is functionist, he is structural functionist. So largely we consider them as a part of macro structuralist school of thought. Hence they are considered as a macro school of thought. Why? Because their focus is for majorly making a generalization. कि हमें कुछ भी करके एक थ्योरी बनानी है, लाइक हाउ कार्ल मार्क्स हैज सेड दैट जब कम्युनिज्म आएगा सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. Similarly, Emil Durkheim and Tancred Parsons, that whatever the society has been going through, the major focus the society is going to have is social integration and social solidarity. Okay, no matter what kind of changes are there, no matter what kind of external forces are there, no matter what kind of internal forces are there, the focus largely should be only on social integration and social solidarity and social morality. Then comes your micro school of thought, in which we have G.H. Mead, symbolic interactionism, whose focus is on I, me and self, where he talks about that how the self which we have in our is developed through the social interactions. Consider it is like a dermatology itself, that at a lower level, when you are at a play stage, you are I, मैं ही सब कुछ हूँ, आपको नहीं पता कि आप में क्या कमी है, क्या अच्छाई है, क्या बुराई है. As such, you gain your age. After a certain point of time, the surrounding of you try to highlight that you are this, your behavior is this, okay, you look like this, okay, you when you try to talk, you use these kinds of words. You should not be talking talking in these words. You should not be using this particular approach whenever you're trying to have a conversation with anyone. So the social acceptance, the social forces led to the development of self. That is what Mead has been talking. Okay, तो वहाँ पे generalization की बात ही नहीं होती, that everyone has a different kind of a social setup and hence they are developing in that particular approach. Okay, the confidence in the European kids is different from the confidence in the Indian kids. Okay, there was a famous reel of Raghav Jual where he was highlighting this particular point itself, कि वहाँ के बच्चों से पूछो that how are you, they will say I am good, what about you. और यहाँ के बच्चों से पूछो how are you, तो पापा पापा कुछ बोल रहे हैं. That is what the development of self is all about. Okay. Then the middle range theorist, where we highlight that Max Weber is nothing but a bridge between the micro and micro school of thought with this approach related to social action and meaning and interpretive school of thought, that he highlights that yes, we cannot look for the objectivity, true objectivity or generalization as the macro school of thought has been talking about, but we cannot dive deep into understanding an individual subjective actions or subjective meanings only. ये हमें एक बीच में आना पड़ेगा. If we cannot be 100% objective, but we cannot be 100% value based, हमें एक value free, value neutrality की approach की तरफ आना पड़ेगा. Similar thing was done by R.K. Merton with his strain and middle range theories, that whenever there is an issue between objectivity and subjective reality, for example, when he talks about his deviance, he says that there is a culturally acceptable goal and there are socially acceptable available means. culturally acceptable way. He gives an example of American society, that what is the culturally acceptable goal, कि सबको अमीर बनना है, but what are the socially available means? सबके पास वो means तो नहीं है, सबके पास वो resources नहीं है. Not everybody has that kind of education, not everybody has that kind of network, not everyone has that kind of capital. So how they are going to achieve that particular cultural goal? That is difficult to be achieved. Hence there is a strain. So we have to come at the bottom point. Hence there are deviances, criticism, innovators, rebellion, etc., which he talks about. Okay. Then the dialectical inversion of Hegel by Marx. So Marx has nothing. His thought was, propagated on the belief of Hegel. What does Hegel believe on? So for Hegel, what kind of changes which we have been seeing in society, what kind of evolution we have been seeing in society, it depends on our ideas, it depends on our mind, on the basis of which we are leading to the birth of society. That history is ultimately driven by the evolution of ideas and human consciousness. Okay, that social changes occur strictly through the dialectic clash of ideas. कि हमारी जो सोसाइटी का एवोल्यूशन है वो कुछ नहीं है, वो हमारे आइडियाज के बेस पे ही. Whenever there is a clash between two different ideas, this led to the birth of different type of society. Okay, that earlier dowry was acceptable in the larger frame of society. Everyone was, accepting that particular approach. But later point of time, with the rise of women empowerment, with the rise of human values, with the rise of equality in the society, the idea developed that this is a wrong practice because it is boosting nothing but patriarchy. So some parts of the society started to challenging that particular idea itself. Okay, so one idea getting challenged by the other idea, that led to the birth of new idea where we have now a legal protection related to dowry. That is what antithesis is all about. But still there is a friction between the ideas of this particular approach, because this banning of dowry is nothing but a modern idea, but the old idea is still continuing in different parts of the country. In southern India, it has been continuing in the form of gifts. In northern India, it has been continuing in the form of gifts. But in western and eastern India, it has been continuing in the form of demands. Still continuing in the traditional forms. Okay, as we have seen in the recent case of Madhya Pradesh, where advocate husband, he has killed his wife, or she has committed suicide because of dowry and domestic violence demands. Similar thing was seen in Noida case also. So there is a clash of ideas. But Marx says that this is not idea, this is not the human consciousness which is in conflict and leading to the change of society or the evolution of society. So for him, for Marx, the human consciousness is not decided by the idea. The human consciousness is decided by what kind of economic opportunity you have in the society, what kind of material conditions you have in the society. So economy, the material conditions has been dictating the social consciousness of human beings, not the other way around, as Hegel has said. Okay, so for him, history is driven strictly by material economic conditions and human labor. So social changes occur through violent clashes, conflict over the mode of production. So the mind, ideas and human consciousness are merely reflection of material reality which you have in the society. Okay, now take this as an example of the dowry case which I had highlighted from the Madhya Pradesh, where advocate's wife has committed suicide because of the demand of dowry and the domestic violence. Now, what was the reason of that particular? The material necessity itself. Okay, so the idea which came in the mind of that particular advocate that I need to have dowry, I want more dowry, is because of the material position. Okay. अब ये देखो, यहाँ पे I want to highlight one particular thing, that don't ever romanticize a thinker. Till the time which we were talking about the Hegel, हमें सही लग रहा था कि yes, he was talking right, that idea has been dictating the social changes. But the time we have shifted to Marx, now we are finding out Marx more sensible. यहाँ सही तो बोल रहा है, material conditions की वजह से ideas आए. Okay, तो हमें ऐसा नहीं सोचना है. Whatever the thinker has been saying, we will just follow that particular. Getting my point? For this particular part, he has written this, that I found Hegel standing on his head and I turned him right side up. कि मैंने Hegel का जो thought था उसको ठीक कर दिया. So his thesis, antithesis and synthesis is based on the ideas. His thesis, antithesis and synthesis is based on the material conditions. Okay, that how material conditions were different from in the primitive society. The clashes between those owners and non-owners of material conditions led to the birth of slave society. Here again, the clashes between material things have led to the birth of feudal society, and henceforward the capitalist society. Then there will be social society. In the end, there will be communist society. Okay, so this was the approach of Karl Marx and Hegel and difference between them. In detail, we have already covered that in classes. Then Karl Marx deconstruct capitalism through the conflict and material change. So for him, whatever the social evolution we have been talking about, we have been seeing about, it is based on nothing but the conflict between the classes. What are those classes? So for him, what can be the definition of class? You can think about Karl Marx. Try to remember. So for him, in very simple words, class is nothing but a material position which a person have in society. That if you are owning that material, that means you are a owner class. If you are not owning that material, that means you are a non-owner class. Okay, so bourgeois and proletariat. Then, so he says that whatever, again continuing from his, that how material conditions are leading to the birth of human consciousness, that he says that the base is nothing but the material conditions which we have in the society. So the persons who are owning the forces of production, what are the forces of production? Land, labor, capital. In the modern times, the digitization, the digital age. Okay, that whoever is owning that forces of productions and higher in hierarchy in the relations of productions, they are at the base. So they are deciding. That is what mode of production is all about. That how one thing is getting produced. Mode of production means kya? That if we are giving birth to something, how that is getting produced in the economic terms. So mode of production is related to forces of production and your relations of production. Okay. So he says that this is nothing but a base of society. So who is owning this? They are deciding what kind of ideas, religion, law and state we need to progress about. Okay. So the superstructure which we see in the form of ideas, religion, education, economy, etc., is nothing but decided by the economy at the lower level. Why there is rise of corporatization of education in India? Because at the lower level, the economy is controlled by this capitalist world itself. Why Adani and Ambani, everybody is behind the control of news medias? Because they want to control the ideology itself. That if a rational ideology will be propagated in the form of media disseminating right information, that ideology can be challenging. So the base can start challenging the superstructure, and that can lead to the other social change. They don't want it. Similarly, why every political party has been trying to control the education? Because this is nothing but the controlling of ideology of society. This is the reason Dharmendra Pradhan is not resigning. This is the reason a lot of corruption cases have been going on education system, and nobody has been arrested so far. There are more than 40 to 50 corruption cases in the last few years of paper leaks, but still nothing has been done. That's what superstructure does. आपकी consciousness में ये डाल दिया जाता है कि the present situation in which you are, that is because of your own reasons. For Marx, he said that religion is nothing but an opium of masses. Why? That the religion is nothing but an ideological tool which is created by the upper class. कि आप जब poor हो, when you are poor, you are facing some issues, you are facing continuous problems in your life, you are not been able to attain good income, आपके बच्चे नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हैं, आप बीमारी में हो, आप अस्पताल में इलाज नहीं करवा पा रहे हो क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स नहीं है ढंग के. So in this situation, you are not going to blame the capitalist or the government, you will be blaming the God, you will be asking help from the God. So this is nothing but an illusion which is created around your mind. ये सब कुछ जाके भगवान पे छोड़ो. But who is the real culprit here? The superstructure. Okay. Then he talks about historical materialism. What is historical materialism? That how the changes in the material things have led to the change of society from past to the present times. That is what historical materialism is. That history is driven by material economic conditions and contradictions rather than evolution of ideas. So what are the important features of historical materialism will be? That what are the important mode of productions are there? Dialectics between different classes, the social change and social conflict between the different classes, and the progression of यही आंसर लिखना होता है आपको पेपर. Just focus on the basic simple thing and the meaning of that particular part. Okay. Then mode of production. The specific historical organization of economic production comprising the forces of production and relations of production, property ownership, etc. That is what mode of production is. Class struggle. For Marx, the class struggle is a motor force of society. That कोई भी society तभी run करेगी, any society can run only if there is a continuous class struggle. If the struggle or conflict between two different classes will be stopped, the society will not evolve. Okay. So he says that this class struggle is inevitable. There has to be struggle between different classes. अगर ये class struggle नहीं होता तो society could not have been evolved from the primitive times to the capitalist times. Okay. So he says that the inevitable structure conflict between bourgeois class who are owning the modes of production, the ownership class, and proletariat class who are selling their own labor. Then comes his concept of alienation. Alienation is nothing but estrangement. Estrangement means the physical, lack of physical connection, lack of emotional connection with the things which you are making by yourself. Okay. That if you are making a smartphone, but that is a very systematic process which has already been done कि आप सिर्फ कैप बॉक्स बनाओगे, आप सिर्फ सिम के लिए काम करोगे, आप सिर्फ मैग्नेटिक ट्रे बनाओगे, आप सिर्फ स्क्रीन बनाओगे विदाउट डाइविंग डीप इनटू कि आपका कुछ उसमें इंटरेस्ट है कि नहीं. इन द प्रेजेंट टाइम most of the people are just working to survive. Nobody is getting that much attachment to their work because there is no love left for that particular work. Okay. In the era of this mass layoffs, this is also increasing. So alienation is nothing but estrangement of workers from their product, the labor which they are doing from their own self and the fellow workers. Okay. Now, how this alienation has been created in the society in the present times and how there has been an illusion created related to this particular thing. Take example of gig workers. Gig workers को क्या बोला जाता है? A fancy word of this new startups and corporate world has given the work to these gig workers that they are nothing but पार्टनर्स. ये जो गिग वर्कर्स हैं ये हमारे वर्कर्स नहीं है, दे आर पार्टनर फॉर आवर प्लेटफॉर्म. दे आर पार्टनर फॉर आवर प्लेटफॉर्म. Uber, Zomato, Swiggy, etc. etc. They don't use the word worker or partner. This usage of word partner itself is nothing but an illusion. कैसे? That for a gig worker they are creating some kind of a illusion that you are not working for us, you are working with us, that you are partner of us. That means जो भी हम कमाएंगे हम आपको भी तो दे रहे हैं, हम आपके साथ भी तो शेयर कर रहे हैं. But generally partners mean partnership. So here it is when created an illusion in the minds of gig workers that you are partner of that platform. In the end you are worker, which is nothing but an informal worker. Informal worker with no job security, with no regular pay. Okay, their work has been decided on the basis of algorithm itself. You must have been seeing videos of gig workers from China where they have been continuously swiping down on phones. They are not swiping just for fun. That is not swiping related to Instagram reels. They are swiping because the mass layoffs which they have been seeing at the world level has risen to such an extent that most of the people are working in gig economy only. And they are not getting jobs. Because if 100 orders are needed to be delivered and there are 10,000 of people available, only 100 people will get that particular job. Na? So more than 9,000 people are just scrolling the screens to wait for that when their turn can come. Because it is decided on the basis of algorithm कि जिसे सबसे पहले pick कर लिया उसको मिल जाएगा वो order. The same thing is happening around us. Okay, in every mohalla, in every society, you must have been seeing that few people, 10 to 15, gig workers have made up one particular place where they are sitting for whole day. Okay, just keep on swiping and looking for that when they can get them. Getting my point? Now, do you think they are getting fun in that? No. So there is estrangement. There is not a connection, unconnection between. They feel unconnected with the labor which they have been doing. with the product which they have been working for, with the process which they have been working for, and the fellow workers. Okay. Then religion, I have talked about his religion. Then Emile Durkheim, that how he is considered or focused mainly largely on the social order and social cohesion. Okay. Now focus on this particular word, sui generis society. Now, why do you think Durkheim has called society as sui generis? Anyone who can answer about this? Sui generis means nothing but uniqueness, being unique. Why Durkheim has said the society is unique? For him, society is more than an accumulation of individuals. So if all the people have came together to make a society, that society is unique. Why? Because that society has made itself some rules and regulations to control the individuals, which each individual was not having earlier. Okay, so now the society has itself its own existence, which is exterior to an individual. Even if though some people will leave that particular society or they will die in that particular society, that doesn't matter. The rules and regulation, the norms and beliefs will continue. ओके तो अगर लोगों ने मिलकर एक सोसाइटी बनाई है, सोसाइटी की रिस्पेक्ट ज्यादा हो गई, सोसाइटी खुद के रूल्स बनाएगी उन लोगों को कंट्रोल करने के लिए. दैट इज व्हाट social fact is all about when he talks about social. That social facts are nothing but ways of acting, thinking and belief which are exterior to an individual, which control to an or individuals of. When we say that beliefs of society, no matter what you do, most Hindu marriages will be seeing that where there will be a sindurda. Most Muslim marriages you will be seeing that groom and bride cannot sit together during the wedding. Most Sikhs wedding you will be seeing that they have to be happening in gurdwaras. So that's what belief is all about. That belief is nothing but a social fact. Similarly religion, similarly law. लॉ किसी इंडिविजुअल ने तो नहीं बनाया, इंडिविजुअल्स ने सोसाइटी बनाई थी, उस सोसाइटी ने मिलकर लॉ बनाया ना. Now everyone has to adhere to this particular legal norms and legal codes which the society has been, which the constitution has been implementing on us. उसके लिए जुडिशरी है इंप्लीमेंट करवाने के लिए, अगर नहीं करोगे तो आप. So society is unique because it makes rules and regulations to control the individuals. Even though individuals have themselves made the society, society has become external to them. Okay, individuals are not influencing society, but society is influencing the individuals to act in a certain manner. Okay, so social fact is nothing but ways of acting, thinking and feeling that exist external to an individual and exert coercive power over them, the true objective matter of sociology. Now this AI is nothing but kind of a social fact itself. आप कुछ करो चाहे मत करो, the Instagram, the YouTube, the Facebook, they have been feeding so much information into our mind that we are forced to look or behave in that particular certain manner itself. Okay, the youngsters from southern India or different parts of the India who are leaving their homes to go for Korea, क्योंकि K-pop culture का बहुत impact पड़ रहा है. How that has been impacting? So the AI itself has become a social fact where it has become external to an individual and trying to or forcing them to act or behave in a certain manner. That is what we have been seeing on Instagram or through Instagram. That how we are getting influenced with what the influencer has been using. कौन सी ड्रेस पहन रहे हैं, कौन सी क्रीम लगा रहे हैं, कैसे नाच रहे हैं, कैसे गा रहे हैं. Okay. Then his concept related to division of labor, the specialization of work tasks. So division of labor basically means nothing but a splitting of tasks among different individuals to create efficiency. A simplest meaning. Okay. Marx has also talked about the division of labor. Durkheim has also talked about division of labor. That this is nothing but inevitable in the capitalist society. कि जहाँ पे capitalist society है वहाँ पे the major focus is on efficiency and profit. उस efficiency और profit के लिए उनको जो करना पड़ेगा they will do. But Durkheim gives a positive approach to this division of labor. How? For Durkheim, this is nothing but necessary for the social solidarity. This is nothing but for necessary for the social integration of society. Okay? आपने पढ़े होंगे अपने नोट्स में material density, moral solidarity, organic solidarity, material solidarity, organic solidarity, which he has been talking about. That this new age capitalism is nothing but an organic solidarity. Everyone has to work and do their tasks so that the society can function. Because there is task differentiation. पहले सब लोग एक जैसा काम करते थे. In ancient time, when there was no machinery, no work related to such, everyone was doing the hunting itself. Okay, पहले if at the or उससे पहले भी if you are talking about that male and female both were going to do the hunting, then there was a specialization of tasks started. Only male will get to the hunt and female will take care of the making food and taking care of children at the home. So specialization of tasks started. But both need to do their work if they want to survive. The same thing is happening here. That even though there is decrease in mechanical solidarity, but there is a rise in organic solidarity. There is a rise of individualism, but each individual has to do their work if the society needs to function. Okay, then he gives that there is a pathological division of labor where we say that if division of labor will go out of context, it will lead to the anomy among individuals where they will be feeling alienated from the world. Okay, there will be no rules and regulations which they will be going through. Then religion. For him, religion is nothing but a unified system of beliefs and practices related to the sacred and profane. So he, in his totem study, which was done on Australian tribes, where he has used information given by other people, especially his friend's work, that he highlights that or divided society into two different parameters. For him, that how the religion has taken birth. Okay, so religion is nothing but again related to increasing social solidarity and social integration in society. That people wanted to have some belongingness among them, have some unity, have some collectivity among them. For that belongingness, for that connectivity, they made religion in the form of totem. So for him, totem worship is one of the earliest religions of society. Okay, why people will accept that totem is a religion? Why they will start making rituals and rules for respecting that particular part? Because that is nothing but a collective consciousness of society, and that collective consciousness need to be respected. Hence, that has given a sacred state. Okay, in detail we will cover in the revision wala class. Then comes his suicide. He demonstrated to be not that for him society is not to be a purely psychological phenomena. Just hold. Suicide is not a purely psychological phenomena, but a profound social fact which is driven by different levels of social integration and regulation in society. Which is driven by different kinds of social regulation and integration in society. Now, answer me what was the question? What is the answer of the question which I asked you earlier? That where you will fit the societies of quota students. Anyone? So there are 4 different types of society he has highlighted. 2 on the basis of social integration. What are those societies? Societies. One is egoistic, another is your altruistic. That if there is high level of social integration, then there is altruistic. If there is low level of social integration, then there is egoistic. Then he talks about social regulation or moral regulation. That if there will be high level of social regulation, then what kind of society it will be? That fatalistic society will be there when he is talking about high level of social or moral regulation. And if there will be low level of social regulation or moral regulation, then there will be anomic society. Now, for societies related to quota, what is happening there? That they are the students who are committing suicides in quota, they are saying that we have not been able to achieve whatever our parents have dreamt of. This is not dream of ours, this is dream of our parents. We have spent 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and we have not been able to achieve that particular thing. The similar thing which we have been seeing right now during the NEET paper leak, that around 20-25 students have committed suicide related to that because they have not been able to achieve that particular dream of their parents. So this is nothing but a high moral regulation where they are seeing that their happiness is being regulated by the society. If they have not achieved this particular thing, they are bringing shame to their family, they are bringing shame to their parents, they are bringing shame to themselves. And they are not ready to accept this. So for high moral regulation, what we have? Fatalistic, okay. Then come to Max Weber wala part. So for Weber, we have authority, bureaucracy, religion, and his social action and Verstehen, which we have already done earlier. Now, for social action, whatever he says, that the action which have a subjective meaning according to the actor, that is what a social action is all about, oriented towards others, okay, related to a particular goal. Then ideal types are nothing but analytical tools which are used as a measuring rod to find out what was historically there or what is present there. For historical connotation, you can use anything. For example, ideal type of villages or ideal type of family, ideal type of religion. तो किसी भी religious book का उठाओ आप, make some pointers that this is the ideal type of religion and compare it with the religion of present times. You will find out the relationship between them. So that is what ideal type is all about. Okay. Then authority. Now there comes a difference between power and authority. We have also done in class also. What is power? अगर simple meaning में बात करें हम तो power is basically that force with which you can force someone to do one particular task even though they are not willing to do that particular task. Okay, for example, people who are in bonded labor, people who are in slavery, okay, or consider a child labor who is working for someone, that even though that child does not want to do work, the person upon him, he is holding that power कि वो जो बोलेगा उस child को करना ही पड़ेगा, even though that child does not want to do that particular on his own will. That is all power is all about. When that power gets acceptance in the society, that becomes authority. Okay, so authority is nothing but legitimate domination. आज मोदी जी बिना इलेक्शंस के रूल कर रहे होते तो then we could have said that this is not authority, this is power. But he has been elected as a president on the basis of elections, on the basis of our constitutional goals. Our constitution means that is how we consider that political authority as a political, their power as a political authority. If there could not have been rules, laws, no, then it could have only been power. So authority can be of different things. There can be legal rational authority also, there can be traditional authority also, which is continuing on the basis of traditions. That why people of Congress have been accepting Rahul Gandhi as a leader of Congress, because of their traditional nature, that everyone from Gandhi family has been at head of the Congress. So even though they will be not head at the present time, but he will be considered as head of party. Okay. So legitimate domination, Weber maps 3 historical types: traditional, charismatic, and legal rational authority. Then bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is nothing but the purest form of legal rational authority, where we have been seeing there has to be different features of bureaucracy. वो जो आइडियल टाइप वेबर ने बताई है उसमें ही हैज हाइलाइटेड दैट देयर हैज टू बी हायरार्की, impersonality, their rigid behavior or rigid way of working, the codified rules, and he says that bureaucracy is nothing but have came to the life because of the rise of capitalism. Because capitalism has to make profit. Profit तभी आएगा जब सारी चीजें टाइमली होंगी. उस चीज को टाइमली कराने के लिए we need bureaucracy. Okay, rational legal authority. But he says that till the time this bureaucracy evolves or develops, they are so much constrained just on following rules कि वो iron cage of bureaucracy बन जाते हैं. For example, how we say, or the CBI has been criticized very well that it is a parrot cage of government. Government जो बोलेगी वही करेंगे, and what they will say that we are just following the rules. Similar thing has been done by ED right now. Okay, so they have just become an iron cage of bureaucratic machinery. आप किसी भी ब्यूरोक्रेसी में चले जाओ, why there is lack of innovation to solve the social problems. आज तक हम एजुकेशन के प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं कर पाए. फॉरगेट द लार्जर लेवल ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स रिलेटेड टू हायर एजुकेशन और सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन. वी आर नॉट बीन एबल टू सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम्स रिलेटेड टू द प्राइमरी एजुकेशन. Even in today's 2026, we are not been able to provide, good benches, good study material, good classroom, a digital board to the larger section of rural India. Okay, so why there is continuous of these kind of problems from the historical times? Because there is lack of innovation in the approach of bureaucracy itself. They are just following the dictates and rules which are given by the political heads. Why there was so much death during the COVID? Why nobody have thought about that we could be utilizing an innovative approach to solve this problem of COVID? Because we were trying to follow the rules कि जब हमारे मंत्री जी बोलेंगे तब हम वो चीज करेंगे, हमें वो चीज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Why hospitals even in today are lacking oxygen cylinders? Again, because of following the bureaucratic rules. So hence they have become an iron cage of rationality. We are not been able to find an innovation in our approach where we could look for a new kind of approaches to find a solution to the problems which are continuing in the society from a very long time. Okay, then how their approach is different. The approach related to religion is different from Marx, Durkheim and Weber. So for Marx, as we have been seeing, that he focus on the illusionary approach of religion. कि religion कुछ नहीं है, ये एक illusion है. Same approach has been highlighted by Rolf Dahrendorf when he talks about cultural hegemony. Okay. Similarly, Durkheim's focus हमेशा किस पे? Social solidarity, as I have told you earlier, social consciousness, collective consciousness, and hence his approach is related to that the religion is nothing but a social glue which is connecting individuals in a society together. Okay. Whereas Weber considered that it is nothing but a catalyst to bring a large social change. So if a question comes around that can religion bring a social change, you can quote Weber there. How? So in his Protestant Ethics and Spirit of Capitalism, he says that capitalism has flourished because of the ideals of or doctrine of Calvinism in the Protestants, among the Protestants. कि उनका रिलीजन्स, द प्रोटेस्टेंट्स का रिलीजन ही ऐसा था, उसने उनको बताया दैट यू हैव टू सेव मनी, यू हैव टू वर्क हार्ड, यू हैव टू इन्वेस्ट योर मनी, यू हैव टू लुक फॉर द लार्जर गोल, हाउ यू कैन इंक्रीज योर सोशल पोजीशन. दैट इज हाउ द कैपिटलिज्म हैज टेकन बर्थ फॉर हिम. सो दैट्स द नेम, प्रोटेस्टेंट एथिक्स एंड स्पिरिट ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म. जो एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स, मोरल कोड्स ऑफ प्रोटेस्टेंट्स है, दे आर सो मच related to the capitalism that it led to the flourishing of capitalism. Okay. So for Weber, religion is nothing but an function as an independent variable capable of sparking massive unintended economic transformations. So Calvinist doctrines created a unique psychological anxiety that drove the rational accumulation of wealth, led to the rise of modern capitalism. Okay. Now, here comes your Talcott-Parsons, who constructs grand theory around systematic equilibrium. So for Talcott-Parsons, just remember again, just like Durkheim, he is focusing only on the structural functionalism. कि कोई भी structure exist करेगा society में, it has to function. Why? Because society needs to be in social solidarity and social equilibrium. Okay. So whenever you will be reading about, वैसे तो in revision classes we are dealing with that particular part only. When we are reading about the social action of Weber, we are talking about social action of Parsons. Similarly, when I am talking about the ideal type of Weber, we are talking about the pattern variable of passes, because somewhat you could analyze that how they are inferred or related to each other. Okay, so he gives a thought about social system also. So social system is nothing but a complex, highly structured arrangement of interconnected social roles and institutions. So the system's fundamental drive is what? Survival. Okay, so एक system, एक society दूसरे society से it has to have a maintenance. So that is what boundary maintenance is all about. And system needs to be in equilibrium. Now, how this equilibrium will be achieved? With this agile model. Okay. Adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and latency. UPSC has asked a very beautiful question related to this, that how university can be seen in the form of this agile model. So what is the goal of university? To impart education among kids. Okay, how they are integrating their children who are studying in that particular university with the cultural festivals which they are holding. Okay, what they are adapting to, the pedagogy of teaching, the curriculum which they are having, and how they are continuing with that particular learning to spread it further. Okay, then pattern variables are nothing but 5 sets of dilemmas which nothing but highlights again social change. कि ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी में क्या होता था? द फोकस वाज ऑन कलेक्टिविज्म. अभी सोसाइटी में क्या होता है? मॉडर्न सोसाइटी में द फोकस इज ऑन इंडिविजुअलिज्म. ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी में अर्लियर क्या होता था? एस्क्रिप्टिव, द स्टेटस बेस्ड ऑन द बर्थ. अभी की सोसाइटी में क्या होता है? अचीवमेंट बेस्ड स्टेटस, द स्टेटस बेस्ड ऑन achievement, caste versus class. So this is how there has been 5 sets of dilemmas which he has given, that whenever you are trying to highlight a social change, you are trying to trapped in a particular situation, you can use these particular dilemmas to understand the society. So 5 set of definitive dichotomous choices, example ascription versus achievement, particularism versus universalism, etc., that actors must navigate in any social role. So they serve as nothing but definite metric for differentiating traditional societies from modern societies. Okay. Then comes your R.K. Merton. So R.K. Merton, he is famous for his manifest and latent functions, anomy, reference group theory, conformity and deviance, and his middle range theory. So what is manifest and latent function? The manifest functions are those which are intended, जो हमें दिखते हैं. Manifest functions are those which are intended, जिनके consequences हमें पता है क्या होने वाले. Latent functions are those which are non-intended or unintended, unrecognized, yet they have significant consequences. Okay. Now take an example of giving bribe at a traffic signal. ये तो होना तो नहीं चाहिए, but still we see that cops have been taking bribes at traffic signal. कोई ट्रक वाला फंस गया है, कोई somebody is driving in alcohol, having after alcohol, somebody is driving without helmet. They are taking bribes and let them go. So what is a manifest function here? Is there any manifest function? चलो एक मान लेते हैं that from next time he will be understanding कि नहीं, मुझे ये सब चीज़ें पी के नहीं करनी है, 10 रुपये की गाड़ी नहीं चलानी है, हेलमेट के बिना गाड़ी नहीं स्कूटर नहीं चलाना है. आई विल बी फॉलोइंग ऑल द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस. कि इतना बड़ा हमने चलान दे दिया आप इनको, ठीक है, ब्राइब दे दी हमने. आर देयर एनी latent functions? Are there any latent functions of giving bribe at the traffic signal? What if they have stopped 10 cars? They are lying together on the traffic signal. What will happen then? The whole traffic will get jammed. There will be issue related to the time management. Somebody will be getting late to go to the office. Somebody will be getting, maybe somebody sitting in the ambulance. He must be trapped there. Okay, so that is a very layman example to understand that how or what are the different manifest and latent functions are. Okay, then anomy. Anomy is nothing but a structural breakdown that occurs between when there is a mismatch between the culturally acceptable goals and socially available means, which I have told you earlier that this is nothing but a frame theory, where we have seen the example of USA. Okay, then reference group. The reference groups are nothing but those groups with which you try to align with. Okay, for example, आप Instagram पे देख रहे हो सलमान खान की posts and you want to become like him only. That is what your reference group is. That you want to belong to that particular group. You want to start evaluating yourself that हाँ मैं वो चीजें follow कर पा रहा हूँ कि नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. Then conformity and deviance. If there is anomy, there is strain in the society, that will lead to the different deviances. Conformity मतलब क्या होता है? Conformity means you are conforming to the cultural goals with the available social means. Deviance means that you are not conforming to those particular cultural goals and available means. You are using your own path in a different way. Then there is innovation. Basically, these are types of deviance: innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. Okay, in rebellion, what will happen? You will not accept the goals also, and you will not accept the means also. In innovation, you will accept the goals, but your means will be different. For example, scientists. Okay. Then, how alienation, anomy, and deviance of R.K. Merton, Emil Durkheim, Karl Marx are different from each other. So, सबके लिए the root cause is nothing but a, basically for Emil Durkheim and Karl Marx, the root cause is nothing but a division of labor, which is highlighted by capitalism. But for R.K. Merton, this deviance and anomy is because of the strain between culturally available goals, culturally acceptable goals, and socially available means. Okay. Then what is the nature? For Karl Marx, alienation is nothing but it is at a huge parameter. This alienation will only go if the society will change. Okay. For Emil Durkheim, he says that some kind of anomy is acceptable in the society because it's let the society to adjust itself. Okay, but if there is a rise of that particular anomy, that is leading to the pathological division of labor, which can also be solved. Okay, for him, the structural distinction between cultural goals and institutional means are nothing but a nature of anomy or deviance in the society. Okay, now what can be the solution then? So solution for Marx is nothing but that we can solve this alienation because of the just because with class revolution. जब communist society आएगी सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा, there will be no alienation. Why? Because everyone will be having the same kind of power. Okay. For Emil Durkheim, that we don't need to change the situation, we don't need to change the society itself, but we can focus upon that how with unions, with workers associations, we can solve this particular problem. Okay, जब हम उनकी आवाज को सुनने, when we will be start hearing the voice of this particular workers, the problem will automatically solve. Whereas for R.K. Merton, that we have to increase the capability of people who are not been able to have socially acceptable means or socially available means, so that they can look forward to culturally available goals. So capability theory of Amrita Sen. Okay. Then G.H. Mead traces the genesis of self to a social instruction, where there are three different concepts which we will be reading in the class. One is self identity, then I and me, and socialization, play and game stage, which are related to each other. So for him, a person develops from I to me and then the larger self. This I is nothing but your individual personal acceptance. A spontaneous subject, that means it is active, creative, and unpredictable subject, where there is no social pressure. Where there is no social pressure, the person does the things according to his own individual choices. But the me is one where it has internalized and organized set of attitudes of others. How the larger society has been seeing that particular person. For example, imagine your sister, she is sitting at home. When no one is at their home, no guests are coming to the house, she is wearing whatever she wants to wear, a t-shirt, shorts, and she is wearing in the home, roaming in the house, chilling, having chips, etc., etc. But the moment some guest will come, your father, your parents will themselves say that go and change your dress, somebody is coming to the house and you have to behave properly. Now she cannot laugh properly, she cannot sit according to her own terms, she have to behave while the parents and the relatives accept them to behave, especially during the times of adulthood. So this is what I mean self is, that the spontaneity which you have related to your own existence that got lost because of, or that get changed, not lost, that get changed because of the organized behavior which the society wants you to behave in that particular manner. Okay, for that also we will be dealing in the class with different examples and all. So the last topic which we left with Marx and Weber, कि Weber Marx के लिए class क्या है? For Marx, class is nothing but a purely economic thing which is determined by relationship to the means of production, as I have told you earlier. But for Weber, more than a market economic thing, it is a economic position, a market position which you hold, a market position which you hold, not only a कि आपका relations of productions क्या है उस चीज. Okay, so it is for Weber, the class is decided by life chances, whereas for him it is decided by economic power or economic authority. Okay, so we will be dealing in that in the class also कि for Marx सब कुछ class के ऊपर ही खत्म हो जाती है, but for Weber that the inequality which Karl Marx has been talking about, it's not only related to the economy, it can also be related to the status, it can also be related to the power. So he gives a three-dimensional view or three-Nathanian view to understand the inequality in society, which is between class, status and party or political power. Okay, so class is related to the market or economic position or the life chances which we get in the society on the basis of our economic position in the society. Okay, कि आप अपर क्लास के हैं, then you don't need to worry about, because you have everything at your dispense कि आपको जो करना आप कर सकते हो. At lower class, their life chances are different, their life choices are also different. At middle class, their life chances and life choices are also different. ऊपर वाले के पास पैसा बहुत है, नीचे वाले को ज़्यादा टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर प्रॉब्लम हुई तो obviously they are not going to find solution. If somebody is having a dangerous disease, they will let them die because they don't have any resources. The problem lies with middle class, aspires to become a upper class, but the resources are of lower class. Okay, hence huge pocket expenditure, out of pocket expenditure related to health and education among the middle class. Okay, there was one particular news which came yesterday itself when Elon Musk had tweeted about the decreasing fertility rate of India. So we have a 2.1 the replacement ratio, 2.0 the replacement ratio, it has dropped down to 1.9 now. So Elon Musk has highlighted that with his tweet itself, it has been highlighted that we Indians or the government of ours is such a fool that we are not been able to understand this data. Why? Because he says that the fertility rate has already decreased to a very lowest point among the educated class of India. Okay, for example, in Delhi it is 1.22. So he says that this has already been has decreased a way longer period of time, a way earlier, which is going to be a very challenging for the Indian society on a larger period of time. If there is a decrease in fertility rate among the educated class, that means whose population is going to increase further in the society? The people among the vulnerable sections who are not been able to get good education, but they are trapped in the vicious circle of poverty, and above it we are getting no resources for education, no resources for health. So look for that how or what is the future of India is going to be. Okay, so this is how a life chances approach is related to that particular part. Okay, so this was all related to your thinker perspective. I will leave with you this particular synthesis that which you can utilize for your exam purposes. One is Marx, that whenever a question comes related to conflict, inequality and change, you can use his thought process without quoting him. If you don't want to quote, if you don't remember, whenever there is a question related to order, integration and solidarity, you can use Durkheim and Parsons. whenever a question comes related to that, what kind of a middle path which we need to follow, like Buddha's path, you can quote Merton, because his whole theory is based on the middle range theory, that ना इधर जाना है ना उधर जाना है, हमें एक बीच का path use करना है. Then whenever there is a focus on that, you have to highlight a meaning or subjective meaning related to a social action, how you are going to look for power and authority is going to change. Okay, अभी इंडिया में charismatic authority चल रही है, irrational legal authority चल रही है, that or the new type of authority which I will be talking in the class itself, where I have talked about Badri Narayan, that Modi is winning not because of a charismatic authority but because of a trust capital, which is a new kind of authority which we have been seeing. Okay, then whenever you're talking about rise of individual identity or the making of one's identity, you can use Mead. Then, so this was the overview related to whatever the thinker perspective which we need to keep in mind when we will be diving deep into the revision classes and when we are diving deep into the lectures related to our practice sessions. Okay. Now, last question which you need to hear about, which you can do related to this particular exercise which we have done earlier in the class. So the question is, what is reference group behavior? What is reference group behavior? Discuss how it shaped consumer choices between urban groups. Now, I'm taking a 30-second pause. Think about what are the important keywords have already been highlighted, but you can write, or what kind of a skeleton can you make related to this particular part. Okay, so what kind of introduction will you will be giving in this particular answer? So our introduction will be nothing but the meaning of reference group itself. That reference group behavior means intimidating or behaving in the same manner for the group which we are aspiring for. If we are aspiring to become like a Bollywood celebrity, we try to intimidate or behave in that particular certain manner itself. That is what the reference group behavior is all about. Now, how it is shaped consumer choices between urban groups. Now, what we have been seeing in urban groups right now. In family system, there is a change, rise of nuclear family. Okay, then there is a rise of consumerism in the urban area or urban families. Then there is a rise of new age relationships apart from marriage, that people are living individually. There are open marriages right now. People are dating multiple people, situationship, etc., which we see in the present forms. Examples. Then we can look for that how there is a rise of, in urban groups, there is a rise of questioning the government authority, even though they are questioning on the Twitter itself, but at least they are trying to question the government authorities that why they are not providing the facilities which they have been paying for. कि नोएडा में हम देख रहे हैं रोज स्ट्राइक्स, जब स्ट्राइक्स हुए थे थोड़े दिन पहले तक, then high rise buildings, we have been seeing that people have been fighting with the authorities that why they are not providing water and electricity at the 24 hours. And how in urban groups the fast fashion has been changing with respect to the different changes among male and females, etc. You can write about these. You can write about the fast food choices. Now, what are the reference groups according to this? So, for most of the things, the reference groups are nothing but What will be the reference group for most of the things? For most of the things, the reference groups are nothing but the Western society that we are trying to intimidate about them. The rise of divorce and acceptance of divorce has already been highlighted in the Bollywood movies. They can also be seen as a reference group, na? Okay. The New Age thought process where we are promoting the infidelity, which is nothing but taken from West, which is nothing but highlighted by the movies also, that can also be used as an example. Okay. So the next questions, I have also kept few questions related to this particular part also, which we will be seeing in the next lecture. Till then, if you have any issues, you can come to me. You can ask in the comment section. I'm dropping down my number again, 93191787771. If you have any issues related to your answer writing, note making, understanding the concepts, looking for examples of value addition, you can get back to me. Okay, till then, take care. Goodbye.